Well, I was gonna use music, but apparently Streamlabs decided to take a giant crap on that. Apparently, they have a new thing you have to accept that you won't play Streamlabs music on Twitch. And when I was putting my Twitch URL in there, for whatever reason, it's not clearing the page, so I can't put any music on until Streamlabs gets its shit together. But anyways, hope your day is going well, your evening's going well, your morning, whatever. Um, I'll talk about a few things today. Is Cory Booker, is he still on the floor talking? Is he on that marathon of nothing? Excuse me. Look, I mean, I give him props for talking for 24 straight hours, or not straight hours, but for 24 hours. I mean, he took breaks in between. He had people talk, 10, 15 minutes at a time where he could rest his voice or whatever. But they gave him the 24-hour, 25-hour speech, which, let's be honest, the day after, nobody cared. It was a whole big thing the day of because he was doing it. And we're in a world now where everybody wants to see stupidity happen live. So, people were tuning in, but the minute that it was over, nobody gave a damn anymore. I mean, I haven't heard anybody talk about it at all today, and they won't. But yeah, they'll put him in the record books for talking 24 hours. And he basically talked about nothing. I mean, he can his purpose was to try to build the base up to fight against Donald Trump and his agenda, which whatever, that's fine, that's politics. But the thing is, I mean, I, what what are you gonna do? I mean, you don't have the numbers as far as the votes go. It's not you're not where was this fight? 6 7 months ago. I mean, in 2 weeks, no one's gonna remember that he stood there for 24 hours and that was just a wasted effort, wasted time. The last guy that did it, I think, was in 1957, and it was I can't even remember the name. I'm not gonna say the guy's name, but um, was for civil rights. I mean, it stood for something or it meant something. This one was just a stunt. I mean, that's all it was. It was just a stunt. And the fact that people even sat there and watched him in the Senate or in the House, wherever he was, just talking for those 24 hours about nothing. Hey, to each their own, but that's your thing. But to me, it was just a waste of time. It didn't accomplish anything. I mean, people's attention spans these days are short as hell. He would have been better off just pleading for 5 minutes. It would probably been more effective and could have been replayed over and over again on socials wherever instead of doing it for 24 hours. But that was his prerogative. Whatever. Um. So I don't know if anybody saw, but John Boyega, um, he hasn't been in much of anything, at least in the states, ever since the most recent Star Wars movies where he was Finn and that robot fight movie where they were fighting the kaiju's. I can't remember what that was, but since then, I don't think he's really done anything as far as acting, anything major. I mean, there's probably movies out there that I'm just not thinking about or going over, but I mean, it just didn't happen. Well, he decided that to go on a documentary, and granted, this is only a 37-second clip, so there might be more to it, but he basically went off on Star Wars fans for being racist, because that's the easy thing to do these days, is just blame something being racist. But we'll let you hear what he said.
They're pandering. Let me tell you, Star Wars always had the vibe of being in the most whitest elite space. Like, this franchise is so white that it's like a black person existing in that was something. And you can always tell it's something when some Star Wars fans try to say, well, we had Lando Calrissian and had Samuel L. Jackson. It's like telling me how many cookie chips are on the cookie dough. I'm like, bro, they just scattered that in there, bro. They're okay with us playing the best friend. But once we touch their heroes, once we lead, once we trailblaze, it's like, oh my God, it's just a bit too much. They're pandering.
I don't know whose voice whose voice that is. I mean, I don't know too many white people that speak like that, but I mean, I guess if he goes to enough conventions, he's gonna run into him. But man, obviously he's butthurt from his experience with the Star Wars franchise. I mean, obviously he's butthurt from it, and he's taken his aggression, and you can tell by just his mannerisms while he was sitting there. I'm just gonna let this play so you can watch his mannerisms. By his mannerisms in the chair and with his face, that he's got a lot of pent up anger with not just the Star Wars thing, but probably in life. I mean, to come at it the way he did, where was this vibe while he was making the movies? I mean, after the first one came out, there was a lot of racism as far as a black dude being in it. Um, why didn't he speak on it then? Why did he wait? What are we now? Last movie was 2019. 6 years to do something. I mean, I don't know. Look, if he wants to go after somebody, he needs to go after the producers, he needs to go after the writers, and he needs to go after the directors because they screwed his character over. I remember when that first trailer came out and he popped the helmet off. It was intriguing. You were like, okay, they got a black stormtrooper. Interesting. Where's this story going to go? And they did nothing with it. Um, they set his character up to fail. I mean, I don't know if you remember the trailers, but they have him like holding the saber, like you saw it in here. He was holding the saber. It was a few times that led you to think that he was going to be a Jedi as well, and then they just flat abandoned it. They just like after that first movie, he just was swept behind, and that probably has to do a lot with Ryan Johnson. I think it's Ryan Johnson, the guy that directed the second one of those films, The Last Jedi. Um, so yeah, I mean, he needs to go after. But see, that's the thing. Before I continue, he's not going to go after producers and directors because if he does that, that's the end of his career in just one snap of a finger. They're like, if he's going to do this to directors and writers and whatnot, then what is he going to do with us if the movie doesn't go the way he wants it to? So the only people that he can blame are fans and claim that it's racist. And I'm not saying that there wasn't racist fans out there. I mean, there are. There always will be. There has been, there are, there always will be. That's just going to be life. And you can either spend your life on social media getting upset about it, or you can just try to do the best job that you can. But, I mean, think about that. Remember, first he was possibly going to be a Jedi. He was going to do that. There's a little pushback on that. Then there was some possibility that he'd have a romance with Ray. There was some pushback on that. Then there was that weird, like, rumor that he was gonna have like a gay romance with um, the other character in that movie, and that was pushed back. It just didn't happen. So I honestly think that second movie with Rain Johnson is what really torpedoed this series and really torpedoed a majority of the storylines and much more his. But at the same time, if he's getting mad, look what happened to that, was it Phantasmo character? The woman from Game of Thrones. She was the platinum chrome stormtrooper, and she was looking badass in that first movie. And you're thinking this is gonna be great, and then she just teetered out, and then just by the third movie they have her dying by falling, in the different floors of a ship. So for him to start blaming fans for that, my man, the real anger you should be looking at is for the people who wrote your character and just completely killed your character. And to sit there and talk about they sprinkled Lando and Mace Windu in. Look, I kind of get his drift of what he's saying, where like Star Wars is white, because the first movie, I mean, it was. There was just it was a bunch of white actors. But I don't think that had anything to do with being racist. I mean, that's just George Lucas writing a story. I mean, he brought Lando in the second movie, and it was one of those things where people didn't go. Of course, I wasn't born at that time, but when I watched it growing up in the '80s, people didn't sit there and go, "Oh hell, look, there's a black dude in space now. It just was, oh, it's Han's friend. That's cool. They obviously have a history, and when you're younger, you're confused by it. You didn't know how they knew each other, but you learn it through time. And then, of course, you find out that James Earl Jones was doing the voice of Vader. And then in Return of the Jedi, Lando blows the Death Star up, man, and he's like a general, if I believe. So, and then you had Samuel Jackson, who went to Lucas and was like, "You're putting me in your damn movies." For that the prequel series, and George Lucas wrote a character in for him. And Mace Windu, as I mean, even though he didn't have like overall crazy scenes in it, he still left a good presence in it. I mean, look, it's a movie about space, and I get how you can say it seems too white at times, but at the same time, you have a you have aliens in there, and that might people might go, "Oh man, sharples," but those are aliens. Those aren't humans. But I mean, they're aliens. They're not human. They're different species. They're representing other species and stuff like that. And for him to just blame Star Wars fans for the failure of the studio and the failure of the director and the producers. Again, there's something going on more here with him than just being mad. I saw someone saying like he really got into the Black Lives Matter movement, which I'll be honest with you, Black Lives Matter movement is a scam. All those people got rich off of that and rich off of people's emotions and went and bought $1 million mansions all around the country. And I think he's one of these young individuals that just caught up in the emotions of it and just blaming things. I mean, yeah, dude. And one way to really have toxic fans come after you is by calling them out and saying they're toxic, because I can only imagine what the um the comments are in a lot of these things. Yeah, Star Wars has always been a vibe being mostly white, elite space. Again, man, I mean, yeah, you got so many guys just breaking my heart. I don't think people think this way. Am I wrong? And just, dude, he's hurting. Something else is hurting him, and he's deciding to take it out on Star Wars because he probably thought that this was going to spin his career off into something fantastic, and it didn't. And I mean, look, most of those actors, the two main stars of that movie, have done nothing. Him and the chick who played Ray, Daisy Ridley. I mean, and that's just how it is. I mean, if you go to the original series of Star Wars, really the only person that came out of that superstar was Harrison Ford that I can think of right now. I mean, Mark Hamill, mostly did voiceovers and TV stuff. Had a few movies after that, but nothing extremely crazy. Um, Carrie Fisher had a few movies and stuff after that, but she went into writing and directing, and I mean, she didn't like blow up. I mean, it was really Harrison Ford, so I don't know what he would have been thinking. I mean, it had to have been what the thought process was. He probably thought that he was just gonna just take off, like this was his movie to get him going. Um, about his whole family premiere, Black Panther is his favorite movie. I mean, maybe he's just not a good actor. I mean, because Marvel could have picked him up for a few things, and they obviously didn't. So maybe he's just not a good actor. Think he should talk to the studio, who took it all away from him. The fans were on board. Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. The studio really screwed him over here. Not fans only have a small percentage of things. Now, can they turn studios off of things? Well, yeah. I mean, they can. I mean, like what a lot of them are taking credit for. What we'll get into in this next segment is boycotting, which is fine. I mean, you gotta boycott all you want, and sometimes studios pay attention to it, and sometimes they don't. But it is what it is. Um, that leads me into to my next story with all these reaction channels. First off, content creating, I'm not gonna lie, in itself is a weird space, right? you have many different forms of content creation. To me, the easiest one to get into is the reaction content, where you're reacting to a movie, a TV show, a clip, or music or whatever. You see them on YouTube. You see them on, I mean, like this Real Rejects. They're a big content creator platform. You see, like content, the one where you react to content is the biggest one. I will say this about like the content creators, especially the ones that watch the movies. The thing that irritates me the most about that, and maybe it's just me, maybe it's just me, but when they're watching the movie and they're talking the whole time through the movie, and you're just sitting there like, dude, how can you react, or lady, how can you react when you're just talking through the whole damn thing? Like I saw this one, they were reacting to the usual suspects, and this one guy was just talking through the entire movie, and you could see even the guy next to him was just kind of like, "Hey man," like he wasn't gonna say it, but he was just kind of he was kind of like getting irritated, like, "Hey man, why don't you just shut up and we just watch this movie?" And at one point, they're trying to figure out what happened to Benicio del Toro's character because he got killed in the movie. Spoilers. And when that one dude that talked the whole time he's talking to the other guy trying to figure out what happened to Benicio del Toro. The movie just then, the characters are explaining. One of them are explaining that why Benicio del Toro was killed, but this guy is talking through the whole thing that he never realized that he talked through the explanation. If you're going to do reaction videos, we don't need you sitting there talking the entire time through the reaction. We want to see you jump. We want to see you go, holy crap, I didn't see that. Or you don't need to sit in front of a reaction and in the first 5 minutes go, oh, I wonder if that chick's going to have anything to do with the end of this movie. Oh, or halfway through, oh, that guy, he's saying, I bet he's doing, this is my hypothesis. We don't need to know your hypothesis through the movie. Enjoy the movie, watch it, make a note of it if you want to, and then go back later and show that you made a note. We don't need you trying to figure a movie out in a reaction movie in the first 30 minutes of the movie. Sit back, enjoy the movie, and react to it. Don't talk through the whole thing. Don't try to overguess the whole thing. Enjoy it as if you were at a movie theater and you had to shut the hell up and just watch the movie. That's to me what you should do if you're reacting to movies. Maybe I'm the only one that feels that way. If I am, it is what it is. The other thing is you have like these content creators that it's not like I'm going to call them out or anything. It's not like they're gonna watch this stream anyways, but you have like the neurotic and the geeks and gamers, and even on some level the den of nerds and whatnot. And they make good points on a lot of good stuff. Like I'm not gonna lie, they make good points on some things. But at the same time, like they live in a world of just toxicity, and it's one of those where I almost feel like you get into that niche, right? You get into that, you find your groove as far as what to talk about, as far as, well, I'm going to just talk about this, or I'm going to talk about that, I'm going to talk about politics, I'm going to talk about this and this and this. But then sometimes you just get sucked into that void that's what's expected of you, or that's what's easy to do, that you start becoming this individual that you really aren't. And it's so funny because you'll sit there and you'll watch all these channels and they do nothing but complain and bitch about everything. Which again, some of the stuff they make valid points on. Not going to argue that. There's some things that they do make valid points on. But for the most part, it's just yelling about how they hate everything. it's like I mean, do you guys honestly feel that way about that? Or or do or is it an act? It's like in the 80s and 90s, you had an uprise of the shock jocks, right? The ones like the Howard Sterns and I can't even think of any more than that. But they'd get on the radio and they would just say stuff to say stuff to just piss people off. Now, very few of them actually were that individual. A lot of them were just being characters because it was getting them ratings. It was getting it was getting them sponsorships and everything like that, and they weren't actually what they were portraying on the radio. And it honestly seems these days with content creating that these individuals are now like the shock jocks of content creation. Like they get on and they have become such a character that they start believing that they are that person, even though that they actually aren't. It almost seems like they start to argue points that they don't even honestly believe in. It's like I've seen a few of them where they'll sit there like we'll go to the Avengers Doomsday when they were announcing when Marvel was announcing the well, half the cast, not all the cast, but half the cast. And I saw so many content creators that when they were watching it live, they were just like upset about it, just mad, like, oh my God, this is so stupid. I can't believe they're doing it this way. This is so stupid. Da, da, da. But they sat there for hours watching it. And it's like you're complaining about it, but you're getting content from it. And then they'd go and they'd make a short video on it. And then you'd see their clip, like their 4 or 5 minute clip. And they're just talking about how great the reveal was, like a complete 180 to what they did the entire time on the stream. And it's things like that where it's like you're live on your stream and you're bitching and complaining about something, but then when you make a video, you talk about how great it was and how they did this and how they're not really showing you how everybody in it that's going to be in it. And I sit there and I laugh about that stuff, man. It's like, look, if you have a point, if you have a valid point and you're going to live and die by it, then that's fine. Then live and die by it. But I mean, every day with a lot of these, it's just you see nothing but just hating every single product that comes out, and it's one of those things where it's like, sure, a small percentage of people that watch those will actually fall in line, and if like the creator says like this movie sucks or this so and so sucks, that so and so sucks, yeah, they won't go see that movie because they're believing what that content creator says, like the I want to say the power, but the sway that some of these people hold. And you got to know that these people are watching the movie. They're going and watching it because they have to get content for it. And they might say, no, I didn't watch it, but they watched it. I mean, let's be honest here, because they need something to talk about. If they didn't watch it, they're not going to have anything to bitch about on their channels. So they're watching these movies. And I have to say this. If you're a fan of different content creators, especially on pop culture or whatever, that's cool, but also have your own opinion on stuff, man. You might not completely agree with what they're all saying, but also don't buy into everything they're saying because I mean they if you're gonna live like that to where somebody like a Nerdrotic or a Geeks and Gamers or whoever was it the Epic Drinker or whatever the drinker's guy name, John Campia, if you want to put that in there, if you're gonna live and die with how they feel about movies or TV shows or this or that, and the minute they tell you not to do this or not to do that, you do that. Hey, maybe it's just me. Maybe that's just me being an individual, but I don't let others sway the way I view things. I will either watch a trailer or listen to the music or watch the show or watch a movie for a little bit and get my own opinion of it before I decide, okay, yeah, this is complete bupkis. Um, but I'm at least going to give it that chance instead of, letting some Tom, Dick, and Harry or some Sarah, Jane, and Joan, online just completely shit on something because they're playing a character or they know that that's going to get them views on their stream. And again, if they're making valid points on stuff, then heck yeah, You ride with that, you agree with that, you go with that. But sometimes I just watch these things and I think they realize that the only time they get numbers if they get incensed or if they call something stupid or woke or mental or this or that, if they go into that realm because they know those are the words that are going to get people to watch. And it's how much of that is the truth and how much of that is them playing that character to get you to come in and watch that channel. Now I'm not saying you need to go and find things that tell you everything is all bright and lovely and smells like flowers, because nah, I mean that's just not how life is. I mean I'm not that stupid, but I would suggest if you're going to live in that negative world, then everything around you is going to be negative because that's how you view things, and you can't always be like that because then it's going to cause you mental problems. You have to have that balance to understand that there is a good world out there. There are nice things, there are good things, there are things you can have fun with, things you can laugh, da da da. And at the same time understand that yeah, but there is the flip side to it. And you just gotta learn how to manage it. But if you're gonna stay in that world, it's gonna put you in that algorithm where you just stay with the people that do nothing but talk down on things. And hey, if it's got you to where you're hating everything in life and you weren't like that before, you need to check yourself, man. You need to check and maybe just stop doing some of that stuff at times and get out there and start making your mind up for yourself, man. I mean, again, we are watching, you are watching people that are giving their own opinions on things. A lot of these people have never even been in some of these professions that they're complaining about. I mean, if you want to get excuse me for clearing my throat. If you want to get into the understanding of movies or music or politics or anything in general, find somebody that probably came from that world, or find somebody that is somewhat neutral but understands the process of what's going on, or can give you a side of, well, yeah, there's that, but how about this? Because I mean, at the end of the day, all that some of these people are giving you are just their opinions and their own views on the world, just like me. And you can agree or disagree. That's just, I mean, that's how life is. That's what it is. But man, don't get caught up in that negative aspect of it, because again, a lot of these content creators know that drama is going to bring the numbers in, and then they're going to make a scene, and they're going to act like somebody's shitting their cereal every morning because they know that's going to bring people in and get them riled up. See through that shit, man. Again, if you enjoy something, enjoy it. Don't let somebody that you've never met or that lives hundreds of miles away from you dictate how you should live or enjoy things. At this point, this is where the music would normally come in, but it's not coming in for whatever reason. Oh yeah, because yeah, I gotta set that stupid thing up. But you know what? Here we'll put on. We'll just fade out. Hey now, you guys find that good earth and dig it, right? Always look up to the skies and watch what's out there. All right, later.